Welcome back to another video. In this video, we will be talking about the settings application on the iPad, and we will be talking about every single thing that we get in the settings application. How you can find the settings application. There are ways to find the settings application. First, you will get the settings application icon right on your desktop. Otherwise, you can simply go to the utilities and find the settings application there. Otherwise, there is another easy way to find the settings application, and that is if you simply scroll it down and search for these settings. See, now if you click on the settings application, the first thing you would notice is this. This is here by default your first page. On the left side, we get all the options, and whenever we click on any option, we get its sub options on the right side. The first thing that you would notice is the search option in the settings. If you click on these settings and you type Wi-Fi, you get all the Wi-Fi options, all the Wi-Fi settings on your search. So that makes it easy to find and go to the specific setting that you're looking for. Cancel it. And if you notice one more thing, you also get the option of the microphone in your settings. If you want to use your microphone to search and use Siri, you can use that. Then we have the suggestions, journal, accessibility, Wi-Fi, and about. These are my recent searches, and these are my detailed recent searches which I searched. Let's cancel this. That is the first tab of the settings, which says my name, and it says in this tab we get the settings of the Apple account, iCloud, and more. Let's click on this. The first thing that you would notice is it says Apple account, and then there is a emoji of my character. For example, if I click on this, I have the option of this small cross. If I click on this cross, this will delete this. It has nothing to show now. So what it does is it takes your name's initials. Rizwan Parvez, first name R and P. It changes my image to RP, my first initials. Click on this again. Now we have the option to choose any picture. We can use the camera. We can use the our inbuilt library. If we click on this, it shows me all the pictures that we have in our iPad. We can choose any emoji, we can choose for any style, or we can edit it and type it anything else and type anything else. Then there is one interesting thing about it. It says memojis. If I click on this, now that is a recording sign. You have the first option which says personal information. When I click on this personal information, it will take some time to load in, and then it takes you in your personal information. In your personal information, you get three things. Number one, it says name, date of birth, and then your communication preferences. And again, in your personal information, you also get this edit option where you can change the emojis once again. If I click on my name, it gives me the option to edit it. We can also edit my date of birth. Third option we get here is the communication preference. If I click on the communication preferences, it gives me two options which are by default enabled. Number one is the announcements. This announcement is about the new Apple products, services, and Apple softwares. And second notification or the communication preference, which is by default enable, is it is the communications for your apps, music, TV, and more. You can disable this by default enable communication preferences if you don't want to receive any of these notifications from Apple. And it says see how your data is managed. If you click on, and I'm 100% certain not everyone read these policies in detail. So click on done. Let's go back. Now, once our personal information section is done, we have the second option, which is sign in and security. Let's click on the sign in and security. Once again, it takes some time. Okay, in sign in security, you will see the multiple options. The first says email and mobile number. Let's click on my email address. Okay, so look at this blue tick. Whenever you see the blue tick, it means it is your primary email address, which means this email address can be used for your iMessages, FaceTime. Then we have the option to disable this from your primary email address. We can do this, but I won't be doing in my case because it is my primary email address. Then we have the option to remove from account. We can also remove this email address from our account. Okay, so then we have the option to add email address or phone number. If I click on this, I have the option to add existing email address, new iCloud email address, or phone number. This is very handy for your data retrieval or your ID retrieval if you by any chance forget the password of your primary email address. Let's cancel this. Okay, so after email and phone numbers, we have the access to our security. Number one option is the change password. For the password change, you get the option to first identify yourself with by entering your passcode of the iPad. Then you get option to change your passwords. Get back to this. Now we have the two-factor authentication, which is very commonly used nowadays. First, you need to enter your credentials to a new device which you have never used before. If your credentials are correct, that is the first validation. For the second factor of authentication, it gives you a notification on one of your registered devices, and it says you are trying to log into XYZ device on that location. Is it really you? If you authenticate that, it will log in you on that device, otherwise it will decline your login request. Click on this two-factor authentication. When we click on this, we get the options like we can use this iPad for the two-factor authentication, or my iPhone, which is 15 Pro Max, or the phone number. And if you look at this, it has a small blue tick, which means by default I have selected my phone number for my two-factor authentications. We can also add a trusted phone number. Once again, if I click on this, I can add another number. It says advanced and security keys. By keys, it means physical keys, but not that actual keys which you put into your door locks and rotate it and unlock the door. This is kind of different. These keys, they look like something like this. They look like exactly your small pen drives, but what happens there is when you configure this advanced security, you have to create some keys and configure that keys right on your USB drives. And especially if you're dealing with something very critical, you have very sensitive information right on your iPad, you can use that two-factor authentication using the physical keys. If you know something about the big data centers, they usually have that kind of things in which they use keys, physical keys like green, blue, yellow. First, you enter the first login credentials. Once the login credentials are valid, it asks you to enter your physical key. You can add that security. It's not that complex. In case of Apple, you need two security keys, which means we need two physical security keys which we can use for two-factor authentication. That is very sensitive and it is not recommended if you are a home user and you just want to secure your device from your siblings, from your friends. That's not worth it. The other options are more user friendly. This is for very professional work, and if anything goes wrong, you lost your keys, that would be very hard for you. Okay, after the two-factor authentication, we get some recovery methods. Number one, we can use the recovery contact. We can configure any contact from your list which you can use for your recovery. Set up a recovery contacts. If I click on this, ask me to my face unlock. We can simply add anyone from our contact list and add them as our contact for the account recovery. So you can use that contact to recover your data and recover your devices. Then we have the option to create a recovery key. That is even a handy thing if you don't want to trust anyone with your device. You can. Okay, so this is your recovery key and you can save it. You can create it, then you can save it to a very secure place. By any chance, when you need to use that to recover your data or recover your device, you can use that recovery key. Okay, so now the second last option, which is a little creepy. I don't say creepy, but this is how it is. You can also configure a legacy contact. One legacy contact comes handy is when you are dead. Say for example, you know your time is there and you are dying, you have some very important documents on your iPad, and you can simply add a legacy contact right from your list. And what happens there is they can access to your iCloud and personal information, videos and photos and everything in the event of your death. That option is there if you like to use that. So the last option we get here is the automatic verifications. It is a very useful thing because it uses the Apple ecosystem to ensure you're not a report and you are the actual user. This option is by default enabled to automatically and privately verify your device and account. It saves you a lot of time. Keep it enabled. Payment and shippings. When you click on the payments and shippings, it will ask you to enter in this option by using your Face ID. If you configure or attach your credit card to this, it will gives you all the options there. It will tell you is it a debit card or a credit card, which scheme is Visa, Mastercard, American Express. It shows you all details there. But as of now, we have not configured anything, but the option is there. How you can do this? Simply you can choose to this option, credit card or debit card. Number required, you have to enter your credit card number, expiry date, and then CVV details, and then your billing address, which you can obviously edit to anything that seems fit. And now we have the subscriptions. If you have bought any subscription, you will see all your subscriptions right in this tab. It says subscriptions. If you see, I have not even a single active subscriptions. If I have any active subscription, it will show me the active first and then inactive. But in our case, we have all the inactive subscriptions. Say, for example, we had the subscription of the Apple Arcade, and which was cancelled on 13th June. And we had the Final Cut Pro for iPad, which expired automatically on 11th of July. And you can resubscribe this by just clicking there. And this is the tab which says renewals receipt. Whenever there is a renewal, you will get the receipt on email. You can enable this setting as well. Then we have the iCloud settings. If you see on this surface, it says iCloud, and it already tells you have a 5 GB plan, which is a by default plan, by the way. Simply click on this. The first thing you will see this horror of the red bar, which says you have consumed your full iCloud storage, but you can upgrade to 50 GB for just 200 rupees, which is 0.6 pesos in US currency. And if I click on this, it tells me your iCloud storage is full, and then it gives me the details where I am using my iCloud storage. 3.7 GB on iCloud Photos, WhatsApp, Health, and everything that I'm using to save on the iCloud. We are getting details here. Then we have the option to upgrade to 50 GB. If I click on this, it takes me to this plan, and which I can choose anything, which I'm not gonna use right now, so not now. And it says some recommendations. There are four recommendations for me. If I click on this, it gives me these recommendations for my iCloud storage. Not interested as of now. Savings is paused, and these are all the items which save my data on iCloud. These are all the categories, box and pages, numbers. You can disable anything. Say, for example, if I disable the contacts, my contact information won't be saving on the iCloud anymore. Key major sections like photos, drive, passwords, notes, everything is being saved, which is currently in pause. iCloud backup is on, but it is failed because we don't have enough storage. Then we can enable or disable backup of this iPad. Backup now. If I click on this, it will start backing up my iPad data to my iCloud, which won't be a success. All device backup iPad is 0 KB because we don't have a sufficient data to support that backup. Get more with iCloud. We have the upgrade options. Advanced data protection is off. Wait, is it advanced data protection, which is not required in my case because I don't have anything super secret to secure from. And I'm also in a belief that whatever Apple is offering in a basic package, that security protection would be nice for me. Account recovery setup, we can also recover a account like we discussed before. We can add a account recovery contact, or we can create a account recovery key in iCloud as well. Not required. Now we have the option of the family. Let's see what we get in the family. That is about the family sharing. We can share the our purchases with our family, share subscriptions, or set up parental controls. We can invite others like my siblings, cousins, or we can create a child account. We have these options there. Now, this is a very useful, especially if you by any chance someone who usually forget your devices. You can simply find my iPad on, and then you can locate your iPad using your iPhone or your Apple Watch, that where exactly your iPad right now is on the maps. My location, this device, so this is by default selected. The location would be shown of where the device is. Share my location is enabled. Share your location with family and friends in iMessages and Find My. Make personal requests using Siri on HomePod and use. And share my location is by default on. Keep it on. Then we have some media and purchases. Let's click on this. Whenever you click on this, the first option gives you sign out and view account. Click on the view account. If I click on the view account, we get the Apple account, which is my email address, which I have configured. Manage my payments. If I click on the payments, it will take me back to my payment option where I need to add a payment, which is not done yet, and I'm not using it. Subscriptions, purchase history, add funds to Apple account. You can simply create an Apple account and add funds there, and you don't need to buy anything using the credit card. You can use these funds to make any purchase. Right now my balance is zero, and then we have terms and conditions there. Then we can choose or select the country, family sharing, ratings and reviews. We can rate or review any application that is installed there. Okay, so then there is another thing, personalized recommendations, which is by default on. When it is on, it starts giving you the recommendations about the books, app store, TV, and etc. We have the option of the newsletters and special offers. Click on this, it takes you to the page. Not interested in going to the page. Then terms of services, privacy policy, which not a lot of people read, so skip it there. Sign in with Apple. This one is a very interesting thing, by the way. You would notice, like, if you go to any of these applications or websites, you can log in them by using your Apple ID. If you click any of these, you have the option to delete this. Once that is deleted, you won't be able to log in that specific application or website using the Apple ID. And then you have the how your data is managed. If you click on this, it gives you everything about your Apple privacy. Let's get back. Then we have this this iPad Pro. If I click on this, it shows what is on my iPad in terms of Find My iPad is enable, keep it enabled, it's very handy. Find My network, send last location, Find My iPad, they are all by default enable things. Keep them enabled, don't disable them. I have no idea why would someone disable it. Then we have the iCloud backup, which is on, and we have the options like the model number, version of the operating system that we are using, and then the serial number. Let's get back. And then we have the iPhone, which iPhone I use on regular basis. Once again, Find My iPhone option is on. iCloud backup is dashed because we don't have any juice available in our iCloud to make further backups. And then the model number, version, serial number, IME, and remove from the account, which we can do. I don't be using that. And then if you click on this option, this will tell you exactly where your iPad is, where your iPhone is, by the way. And then we have the contact key verification. If you click on this, it will create a contact key for verification, which allows you to manually verify who you are messaging. I don't think so a lot of people use this in their daily life. So this is by default disable option. Keep it disabled, otherwise you can configure it and create a manual key which you will share to other person. And by accepting that, you both would be able to communicate in iMessages. This is a complex way of doing it. Don't do it. Then we have the sign out option. If I click on the sign out, it asks me to sign out from my Apple ID, which I'm not doing right here. Okay, in the second tab, we have the family. We can add any member as we discussed before. We have to can invite others like siblings or anything, and we can create a child account. Then we have the tabs and the options which we can share with families. Say, for example, my subscriptions. If I have subscribed to anything, I can share it with my family, purchase, sharing, and we can also choose to share our location with our family. Once again, the iCloud message, the iPad is not backed up because we don't have a space left there. And then we have the airplane mode. If you look at this right now, my Wi-Fi is connected. If I enable the airplane lock, it will disable my Wi-Fi, and also if I'm using a cellular version, it will also disable my network as well. Let's disable the airplane mode and let's have the Wi-Fi back. If I click on the Wi-Fi, we have all the Wi-Fi options here. Say, for example, if I click on the edit, it asks me to validate myself using the face ID recognition. If I click on this, these are all my non-networks. And say, for example, I want to delete this. If I simply click on this minus, it gives me the option to delete. I can delete this. That option, if I click on this I, it gives me the options to forget this auto join. If I disable this auto join and say, for example, I'm nearby this device, it has the hotspot enabled, it won't be auto join. It asks me to whether or not you want to join it. And we have the password here. If I click on this, it will show me the password. Low data mode, which if I click on the low data mode, it will reduce the stress on this specific network. Okay, so say for example, if you're using your brother's hotspot and you want to use it as a low data mode, you can disable all the backend functions like auto updates, your photos syncing to your iCloud. You can post them and you can use what you want to use it specifically for. Then we have the private Wi-Fi address, then limit IP tracking. You can simply enable or disable it for your Safari. What limit IP address tracking is, it hides your IP address from your potential hackers. So you are secure using the Mail and Safari. We can configure the IP address automatic, which is by default. We can set up it manually by using the IP address and subnet mask. If you're from the network background, you can configure your IP address manually. We don't do this usually. And then we have the configuration settings on the DNS as well, and we can also configure the proxies, which is by default off. Now it shows you the current Wi-Fi is enabled. If I disable this, all the settings will disappear. Let's get it back. And now it says the Wi-Fi is connected. This is the current Wi-Fi that we are using right now. And it says my personal hotspot. If I simply click on this, it will switch to the hotspot and the other networks where I can join. In the last, you will see other. If you click on this, you can enter the network name and you can configure it through these settings. This is a very complex way of doing this. And then there's the option ask to join networks, notify, ask, or off. Whenever there is a network nearby and it wants to join, you can select any of these options to notify you, ask, or simply make it off. Auto join hotspot, ask to join. If you're nearby to a hotspot which is friendly, it will ask you first to join. Then we have the Bluetooth. Let's click on the Bluetooth. We have the option to connect any device to Bluetooth. Simple option, we have the option of enable. It simply say my device is currently paired with my Apple Pencil Pro, which is not currently connected, but it is paired. Whenever my Apple Pencil is nearby and it is on, it will simply connect to my iPad. Then we have the settings in the battery. Okay, the first says battery percentage. It is saying 33%. If I disable this, it will keep the percentage out of the frame. Let's enable this. I keep it that way. Low power mode, I always keep it on because it stops and reduces the background activity when I am on low battery. Then battery health, if we click on this, first it says normal. Your battery, which is inbuilt in this device, is at its normal condition. Maximum battery capacity is 100%. Cycles of this battery has been consumed 44, and we have a limit set. I have set it to 80%, which means whenever my iPad reaches to 80% of the battery refilling, it will stop there. It won't charge my iPad more than 80%. We have the manufacturer date and when this iPad was first used. Let's get back. Now we have the our battery consumption when I use my iPad the most. Then in this section, we have the last 24 hours battery consumption when I use this iPad the most. And these are the battery levels. Last charge was 65% on Saturday, 11:46 a.m. We can also choose to see last 10 days, in which days I use the iPad the most. It is mostly on the Saturdays and Sundays and on some Wednesdays as well. Average screen time on, average screen time off, show the history where I use my iPad for the most of the time. And then we have the VPN. We can simply connect to VPN or we can disable the by default VPN on the iPad. Then my friends, we have the settings in journal, which people a lot of use. If you simply click on the journal, the first thing that you would notice is this about section. Click on the about. Information you get there is your name. Click on this. You can add it to anything you would want to. I'm choosing to keep it as iPad as a name by default. Then we have the iPadOS version. It says 18.1. If I click on this, it tells me which iPadOS version we are using and what it has. Click on the back. We have the model number. We have the model name, model number, serial number. If you click on the model number, it will show you other details as well. Then we have a limited warranty. If I click on this, it tells me when the warranty will expire and what is covered in the warranty. We can also choose to get the Apple Support. If I click on this, it takes me to the App Store and where we can download the Apple Support and start chatting with the Apple guys. Then some information about my storage, where the storage is going. Say for example, songs 0, videos 61, photos this. Total capacity is 256 gig, and out of 256, only 80.87 GB is being used. Then we have the Wi-Fi address, Bluetooth, SEID, and then certificate trust settings. These are the trust stored version, trust asset versions. This is all you get in the about. Let's go into the software update. It says the automatic updates are on, and it also says beta updates. If I click on this, in this section we get two options. Number one, automatic updates are on. If you click on this, it will update your iPad when you are sleeping, when the iPad is in charging and not in use, but you have to connect it to the Wi-Fi. Okay, so now we have the software update. If you click on this, we get options, two options by the way. Number one, automatic updates. When you click on this, it will update your iPad when it is connected to the Wi-Fi and is being charged and logged. It will update to the newer version of the iPadOS, and we can disable any of these options like iPadOS updates. We can disable it. These three are by default enable options, and it helps you update your device, so keep them enabled. Get back here, then we have the beta updates. If you click on the beta updates, I choose to enable the beta updates of the iPadOS 18. You can off this, but you won't be able to download the iPadOS which is latest, but it is in beta, so cancel. That's back. Then we have also available to update to beta 18.2. You can do this, and it gives you some information about this beta. You can update now, or you can choose to update it tonight. You can choose anything. Then we have the let's click on the iPad storage. If I click on the iPad storage, it gives me the first option of the search. I can search photos and it will tell me how much the photos are taking your total storage. And the first thing it shows here is the total storage, how much GBs are unused, how much is used, where it is being used, photos, applications, iPadOS, and system data. Then we have the offload unused apps save up to 25.62 GB, automatically offload unused apps when you are on low storage. Let's enable this. And now this is where our storage is going. We can sort it by size, name, or last use date. So last use date is good. Say for example, if I take it to the bottom side, I would know which applications I'm not using anymore and they are taking my space. And based on that information, we can delete some of the unused applications to save some storage.